Picture this: May 3, 1999. A tornado tears through Oklahoma with winds exceeding 300 miles per hour. That's faster than a Formula One race car. Houses don't just collapse, they explode. Cars fly through the air like crumpled paper. And here's the terrifying part. Even with all our technology, our satellites, our supercomputers, we still can't tell you exactly when or where the next one will strike. Before we get started, check out the link in the description to download our ebook. Today, we're diving into nature's most violent storm. We're uncovering how these monsters are born, what makes them so deadly, and why they still haunt our nightmares. This is the terrifying truth about tornadoes. So what exactly is a tornado? At its core, a tornado is a violently rotating column of air that extends from a thunderstorm all the way down to the ground. Think of it as nature's blender, a spinning vortex of pure destructive energy. But here's what makes tornadoes uniquely terrifying: their concentrated power. A hurricane might span hundreds of miles, but a tornado packs catastrophic force into a space sometimes no wider than a football field. The winds inside a tornado can reach over 300 miles per hour. To put that in perspective, a Category 5 hurricane, the strongest hurricane classification, tops out at around 157 miles per hour. Tornadoes can be twice that fast. They can drive a piece of straw through a wooden plank. They can strip asphalt off roads. They can reduce a brick house to a bare foundation in seconds. And they can appear almost anywhere. While the United States sees more tornadoes than any other country, about 1,200 every single year. These storms have been documented on every continent except Antarctica. They're not just an American problem. They're a global threat hiding in the clouds above us. Now, let's talk about how these monsters are actually born, because understanding that process makes them even more terrifying. It all starts with something called a supercell thunderstorm. Not every thunderstorm can create a tornado. In fact, most don't. But supercells, these are the elite killers of the storm world. They're massive, rotating thunderstorms that can tower 10 miles into the sky. Imagine a building twice as tall as Mount Everest, made entirely of churning clouds and energy. For a supercell to form, you need a perfect recipe of deadly ingredients. First, you need warm, moist air near the ground. This is your fuel. In the US, this usually comes from the Gulf of Mexico. Humid air that's basically gasoline for storms. Second, you need cold, dry air aloft. This creates instability. The warm air wants to rise, the cold air wants to sink, and when they meet, the atmosphere becomes a powder keg ready to explode. But here's the crucial part: the ingredient that turns a regular thunderstorm into a tornado factory. Wind shear. This is when winds at different altitudes blow at different speeds or in different directions. Near the ground, winds might blow from the south at 20 miles per hour. 2 miles up, they're blowing from the west at 50 miles per hour. This creates horizontal rotation in the atmosphere, like an invisible barrel rolling through the sky. Now watch what happens. That rising warm air, we call it an updraft, tilts this horizontal rotation vertical. Suddenly, you have a spinning column of air inside the storm. This is called a mesocyclone, and it's the heart of the beast. It can be several miles wide, rotating faster and faster as more air gets pulled in. But we don't have a tornado yet. Not quite. The mesocyclone needs to tighten. It needs to concentrate. Think about an ice skater doing a spin when they pull their arms in. They spin faster. The same thing happens here. As the rotation tightens and stretches down toward the ground, it accelerates. The winds become violent. And when that funnel finally touches down on the Earth's surface, that's when you have a tornado. The entire process can happen in minutes. One moment, you're looking at a dark storm cloud. The next, a finger of destruction is reaching down from the sky. Let's talk about what's actually happening inside that spinning vortex, because this is where the true terror lives. The wind speeds are the obvious danger. An EF5 tornado, that's the highest rating on the enhanced Fujita scale, has winds exceeding 200 miles per hour, sometimes reaching over 300. At those speeds, the air itself becomes a weapon. Debris becomes shrapnel. A 2x4 piece of lumber becomes a spear that can pierce concrete. But it's not just the wind. There's another force at work, and it's just as deadly: the pressure drop. As air spirals faster and faster around the tornado's center, the pressure at the core drops dramatically. Some estimates suggest a drop of 100 millibars or more. Now, your house is built with the assumption that air pressure inside and outside are roughly equal. But when a tornado passes over, that's suddenly not true anymore. The outside pressure plummets, while the inside stays normal. And what happens? The house doesn't just blow apart. It can explode outward from the pressure difference. Windows blow out, roofs lift off, walls buckle. And here's something most people don't realize. You can't outrun a tornado. While the average tornado moves across the ground at about 30 miles per hour, some have been clocked at over 70 miles per hour, and they don't move in straight lines. They can change direction without warning. They can stop, then start again. They're unpredictable. Inside the tornado, there's also something called suction vortices, smaller, tighter whirlwinds that orbit around the main funnel. These can have even faster wind speeds than the main tornado. They're why you sometimes see one house completely obliterated while the one next door is barely touched. Those suction vortices are like mini tornadoes within the tornado, adding another layer of chaos to the destruction. Now, let's bust some myths, because when it comes to tornado safety, misinformation can get you killed. Myth number 1. Opening windows will equalize pressure and save your house. This is dangerous and wrong. Opening windows does absolutely nothing to protect your home, and it wastes precious seconds you should be using to take cover. The winds and flying debris are what destroy houses, not the pressure difference alone. Keep your windows closed and get to safety. Myth number 2. Tornadoes can't cross rivers or mountains. Tell that to the tornado that crossed the Mississippi River in 2006, or the ones that have struck mountainous areas in Yellowstone. Tornadoes go where they want. Geography might influence their path slightly, but it won't stop them. Myth number 3. Highway overpasses are safe shelter. This myth has literally killed people. Overpasses create a wind tunnel effect that can actually increase wind speeds. You're also exposed to flying debris. In 1999, several people died taking shelter under overpasses during the Oklahoma outbreak. If a tornado is coming and you're in a car, your best bet is to abandon the vehicle and lie flat in a ditch, covering your head. The truth about tornado safety is simple but stark. Get underground if you can. A basement or storm shelter is your best protection. If you don't have access to those, get to the lowest floor of a sturdy building, away from windows, preferably in an interior room or hallway. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and protect your head and neck. Flying debris is the #1 cause of tornado injuries. Let's look at some real-world examples, because numbers on a screen don't convey the true terror of these storms. The tri-state tornado of 1925 is still the deadliest in U.S. history. It tore through Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, staying on the ground for 219 miles. That's nearly 4 hours of continuous destruction. 695 people died. Entire towns were erased from the map. Keep in mind, this was before weather radar, before tornado warnings. People had no idea it was coming. Jump forward to May 22, 2011. Joplin, Missouri. An EF5 tornado, 3/4 of a mile wide, plowed directly through the city. 158 people died. Over 1,000 were injured. The tornado tossed cars into buildings. It ripped the walls off a hospital while patients were still inside. The damage cost $2.8 billion. And despite modern warning systems, despite weather radar, despite sirens blaring, people still died because this storm was so powerful, so fast, so unpredictable. Or consider the more. Oklahoma tornado of 2013, another EF5. It hit 2 elementary schools at the height of the school day. Teachers threw their own bodies over children as walls collapsed around them. 7 children died at Plaza Towers Elementary when the school was reduced to rubble. The tornado's winds were estimated at 210 miles per hour,